So the story that came out this week is that England have been warned by UEFA they could be excluded from Euro 2028, even though we're sort of co-hosting it, because they're concerned about the government's plan to bring in this independent football regulator. So they've written a letter to the Department of Media and Sport, Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy. Anyway, so they're doing all that. And they've written about their concerns and just saying, like, government interference in the game is not on, etc. That's the risk that could happen. I haven't done too much research, but I've just kind of had a look into like what this independent football regulator's done, and I've got just a brief summary. So the intent, this is straight from the government's website. The intention is for the scope to cover all clubs in the top 5 tiers of men's English football. And this new body will have powers to monitor and enforce requirements related to financial regulation, club ownership, fan engagement, and protection of club heritage. One of the things it's got power to do is prohibit clubs from joining breakaway competitions. And to make sure there's a distribution of finances across the professional game. So that's the kind of setup. That's what the government wants to do. They've obviously looked at a lot of things going on. I think it's quite pertinent given our next story we're going to be talking about Man City. But that's what the body's going to do. What are your thoughts on this, guys? Because, like, surely, Signore, England are not going to be kicked out of Euro 2028.
We're hosting the competition as well. I mean, does that make any sense? You're just going to get a load of angry, like, English football fans, and it could be a disaster. You know, it really can.
It'll end up just being like Wales hosting it. That'll be it. It'll just be football in the valleys. Scott, what do you make of? Do you think like there should be more regulation about football, like those kind of things? You know what I'm talking about in terms of like monitoring owners, the finances of clubs. You know, we've seen some pretty bad things go on with money in football. Should that be regulated more? The use of money in football and spending.
So the big question that you asked is, do I know what you're talking about? No, not really. I have no idea what you're on about, to be honest. I've not followed this story. And I'm like, what are you on about? No Euro 2028. I say we're sharing it with Ireland. In terms of like, regulations, yeah, I think there needs to be a little bit more like checkups and stuff like that. But I'm just all a bit confused with the whole situation, to be honest. Like, I've not followed any part of this. And I obviously briefly spoke about this before we started the show. I haven't got a Scooby. I have no idea. Like, I mean, I'm just really admiring your symmetrical Photoshop skills here. You've got a few players looking to one way, you've got the others looking the other way, and you've got Mainu just looking for where Bruno Fernandes is offside, I think. I mean, yeah.
Oh, dear. Oliver says there will be riots. Yeah, I think there would be. I think there's no way that England wouldn't play. But is this just UEFA just playing a little bit of bullying? You know, they're just going to be like, you could be kicked out if we don't like what you're doing. Give us your lunch money. Or is it that the government are just like interfering in football too much? How much interference should there be? I mean, I don't know. It's one of those tricky ones.
But the police sound like they're on it.
The police are on it though. By the sounds of it, someone's got their window open.
Straight on call.
So I think, in summary, England will be fine, but it's just the government's problem. But I think some regulation would be good, especially if we're kind of trying to protect the lower tiers of football. But also just in terms of variety, we don't want to end up in a situation where it's the same team winning the Premier League all the time. We'll talk about them in a minute. But also we don't want the same yo-yo clubs going up and down between the Championship and the Premiership because of that money, the parachute payments and all that stuff, which is all very good.
Yeah.
But it just makes it too repetitive. So I think some more variety, and I think that that kind of thing can help. But of course, we've got, a lot of money being poured into specific clubs. Wrexham, who Oliver thinks could be the place for the final if England do get kicked out of the Euros. But Wrexham example, pour a load of money in, climb up multiple tiers of English football. You know, they are currently got second in League One after the Birmingham game.
I think so.
So
Second?
they could be
second?
They could be in the
Yeah.
Championship next season.
Yeah, there was only top until Birmingham beat them.
I knew it was such a big game. And like I watched the entire... It was a fantastic game of football in the first half.
I love how
didn't
sometimes
realise-
Scott just doesn't pay attention to what's going on the
No,
show.
I just thought it was the
Current
American
affairs.
derby. Listen, you had... I don't know if Ryan Reynolds is actually there, but you got the other geezer as well, who's apparently famous. You got Tom Brady there. You got David Beckham there, right? I'm sure Mr. Kill's mum was there as well. Happy days, good for her. Right? It was a big one. It was a big one, right? Yeah, I had no idea. Do you know? I find the whole thing with Wrexham so fascinating because I honestly thought it was going to be a Netflix documentary for 6 months. Then he was going to sell the club back to like Gareth Bale or something like that. But no, he's actually gone for it. Like I respect it, and yeah, good for them. It's mad. It's just incredible. And Ryan Reynolds is like a quality geezer anyway. So yeah, he's number one in people's eyes, and you know, I don't know about that when it comes to Marvel, but yeah. I find it fascinating.
It feels like 5 minutes ago they were playing non-league football, and suddenly we're talking about the potential of them being in the Championship next season, which is massive. I mean, they're already playing along, even in League One, they are playing alongside teams who have been in the Premier League, who have been there and done that. They got the T-shirt. Even more so when they reach the Championship.
Players, haven't they?
Look, this is what I'm saying. Like what we spoke about a couple of minutes ago about parachute payments and stuff. And I like the fact when Luton Town get promoted. And you don't expect it. Ipswich Town have got promoted, you know, with 2 back-to-back promotions. But, you know, we also said about how the Championship is so competitive and it's so hard to get out of the Championship now because the entire Championship has got ex-Premier League clubs in there. You know, some classics. You know, you talk about your Blackburns, you talk about your Middlesbroughs and stuff like that. But now it's filtering through into League One. Because now you've got Birmingham City who can spend, 15 million quid or 20 million quid on a striker from the Premier League. Because he smashed it in the Championship for them last year, Stansfield. You can't compete with that. You can't compete with that. You know, some Premier League clubs are still not spending £20 million on a striker. Ipswich Town did
one of them.
It's
mad. We'll just buy wingers, and we won't have any forwards.
But it's just incredible. It's just incredible. I don't know.
Sometimes the money does special things and we do get to see special stories out of it. It's making sure we don't lose that magic. And I don't know what the balance is, but hopefully we can get there somehow. But England, they'll be in the Euros. It'll be fine.